Tys. How you going?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Nick, Tys and Videotape.
Hey, gang. How's it going?
It's episode number 65, I believe, Nicholas. Is that
I love
correct?
that you've taken over the numbers. I haven't even written them down now.
Yeah, I might be wrong, but I'm thinking 65.
65. Sounds like it.
So, I don't know, man. We're doing something very foolish, I think.
We're not doing something very foolish. Everyone saw this thing. This thing made so much money, and yet for some reason, no, it did. Not in its homeland.
No, true.
Worldwide.
It was a big renter. This was a big video renter. We are, of course, not of course. No one would ever think we'd ever talk about this. We are actually talking about Wild Wild West. Wild West. From what year, Nick? What year was it? 99 or
99? Yeah, I think it's 99. And we've done a best of 99, and it was not mentioned, I'm pretty sure.
Well,
that was you.
There's no shock there, I don't think. So yeah, what I thought would kind of be an interesting experiment, because I had never seen Wild Wild West. And
really?
Yeah, that's right. So
this is your first viewing?
It was my first, and I can tell you only viewing
this is gonna be awesome.
Of Wild Wild West. I thought this could be interesting, and well, I don't know, man. I think I kind of turned off my laptop and started questioning the very nature of existence at the end of this film. So I think we're going to have a very fun conversation, hopefully, and it won't be too... I'm going to try not to be too much of a spoil sport and just be like, no, it's shit.
No, I love a spoil sport. I like to set the bar really fucking low so that the next thing that I watch is so fucking awesome. So I'll make sure that I go like from this to Terminator 2.
It's a good point.
Something that's really... just from acting to directing to the whole movie is just amazing, and it just makes it better for me.
I honestly couldn't think of anything I could have watched that could have been worse. Having said that,
yes.
Hopefully maybe I'll find a couple of things to like about it. But before we do any of that, Nicholas, why don't you tell some people where they can find us, my man?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening to our podcast, thank you and welcome.
Thank you and welcome.
But if you would like to follow us on all of the social media, we are on all of it apart from Snapchat. We don't do that. We're too old. So yeah, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you'd like to, or we're on YouTube as well, which is not really a social thing, but you can find our podcast on YouTube. And if you want to, if you're feeling daring, you could write us an email at nicktysonvideotape@gmail.com.
You can, and that's also if you'd like to request a particular film you'd like us to talk about.
Yes.
We have a couple on the back burner, and we are going to get them to them very shortly. But by all means, if there's something you'd really like to hear me and Nick mull over for a little bit, why don't you send us an email, and we'd love to have a chat about it.
We'd love to do it.
We would love to do it.
Unfortunately, it can't be Wild Wild West because we're doing that now.
And so put down your pens, people. Put down your clickety-clacks. Don't email us. I know you're all clamoring to hear us talk about Wild Wild West, and it's everybody's favourite movie.
Everyone is.
Put down your pens. You get to hear it today. It's all very exciting.
For free, too. For free.
Could you
imagine if our podcast was charging and they listen, and this was the episode? You're like, what the fuck, man? Why am I paying for this?
I'd be ashamed if we were doing like Patreon things and things like that. I'd be like, don't pay for this. Don't pay for it.
We'll give you this one.
Well, they'll give you everything, all of it. Just take it all. Before we do get into what is surely going to be a fun chat, Nick, I think we should talk some trailers.
Yeah, buddy, let's talk trailers.
Everybody's talking trailers. All right. I'm going to sneeze. Hang on.
I'll go for it. Oh, bless you.
Okay, that was good.
I like that. That was good.
Fuck
One's
me.
a wish, two's a kiss. Where should we start?
Well, why don't we talk about...
Yeah,
there's only a few we're talking about. I did want to mention that if you happen to be a dog lover, you had a good week.
Clearly. There was Was there 3 or 4?
I think there was 4 random dog-related movies. And I just want to take a shout-out for one in particular, which was called Pick of the Litter. And this one actually looked to be the most interesting of the ones that I saw. There was some garbage-looking one that was like a romantic comedy. It was like a Mother's Day style romantic comedy, but like about dogs, with dogs.
Right.
Yeah, I just steer clear. But this actually looks great. It's a documentary about guide dogs and the training of guide dogs.
Okay.
And it looked wonderful. And so by all means, check that trailer out. We're not going to talk about it in any detail, but have a look. It's called Pick of the Litter. Anyway, let's talk about a trailer that came out very early in the week, which was the trailer for the new Disney live-action remake.
Dumbo.
Yeah.
Look at that.
We're all family here, no matter how small.
I think Dumbo was kind of the one that everyone forgot about in between. Now that we know Lion King's coming and Aladdin's starting to come up,
true.
Dumbo is the one that kind of got a little bit pushed aside.
A little bit forgotten.
Forgotten in the shuffle. And
I didn't know it was Tim Burton directed. That kind of threw me a loop there.
I did know that, and that might have been part of why I didn't care very much.
Okay.
If there is someone I could put my finger on who has perhaps lost their mojo.
Yeah, well, maybe this is the one that brings him back home, you know. Yeah. Dumbo is a sort of Tim Burton-esque story. You can see his drawings in this, do you know what I mean?
Look, you are not incorrect in saying that. I don't think it's a bad choice. I think Tim Burton of 1993 is a wonderful choice for this.
Yes,
I think Tim Burton of 2018 is maybe not so much.
He's done.
Because since then we have had these awful, like the awful Alice in Wonderland, the awful fucking Dark Shadows, the awful Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, Mrs. Peregrine's Home for Particular Children.
Yeah. We've had just string after... I don't know why I keep watching these movies.
Dark Shadows. I gave up.
Thinking I'm going to get something different from them. Yeah.
Have you watched all of them? Have you watched them all?
Yes, of those, which is really bizarre that I have.
Oh, well, that's why you've had enough. The last Tim Burton I watched was Big Eyes.
Which I heard wasn't bad.
It was okay. But I gave up on Tim Burton's imagination after the Alice in Wonderland, and after when Johnny Depp did that dance at the end, I went, "I'm out. This is me done. This is me and Tim Burton's relationship ending." It was fun. There's a breakup letter in the mail.
It was fun while it lasted.
Yeah,
Tim Burton,
exactly.
You're done.
I was like, nah, sorry, bud. But maybe this is the one that brings him home.
Look, maybe. Look, let's talk about the trailer specifically.
All right.
It looks kind of... I'm sad because it looks computer-generated Dust Bowl era.
Yes, that's true, yes.
And
yes.
I feel like you can just do that. You can just actually do that. You go to down south in the States, you find a fucking paddock.
Yeah.
And you build this shit. And so I just saw it and I was like, well, it's this CGI nonsense again.
The Dreamland shot of the circus, and I was like, well, that's not there, is it? Like, it just looks, I know what you mean. Yeah. Like, it looks like it's just...
It looks like sound stages and green screen, and I don't know, man. I think I'm having a real low tolerance for that kind of stuff at the moment, because it's like you know, I know movies cost a lot of money, but you know, it's worked forever. It's you go and you scout locations and you build shit, and then we get to look at it and we get to kind of wonder at the magic of it. You're not fooling anybody that is not where they're standing at that moment. Yeah. So I was I checked out almost instantly of this trailer, unfortunately.
Really?
Yeah, I found it really hard to engage with.
Visual-wise, yes, I do agree with you slightly, but it was the song that hook, line, and sinker.
The song was a nice choice.
Was really, really beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree. Why does this rub us the wrong way, though, and the Jungle Book doesn't? Because there was no jungle in that fucking movie.
Jungle Book did rub me the wrong way initially.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I came around on it. Like, as I watched the film, I went into that with very low expectations, and I ended up enjoying it quite a lot. Also, I think it helps that there was only one human in that.
Yeah, I was going to say, if one thing is not CGI, like if everything's CGI, then that's okay, I guess. It kind of blends in. You don't see, like when you're seeing that shot of Michael Keaton look up, I was like, oh, wow, well, that's really bad. That's a bad shot.
I was confused that was Michael Keaton as well. He looks strange. And we should be excited about this. We should be excited about the reunion of Tim Burton and Michael fucking Keaton.
And the actual Batman. Yes, our Batman. Yes.
And I am not.
And Danny DeVito's in there as well. Come on.
Oh, my God. And like Danny DeVito, like I was really hoping that I'd get Big Fish vibes out of it. And...
Did you?
No, not even a little bit. There was maybe one kind of... I think there was a little bit of colorization. Like, I think the color palette sort of reminded me a little bit of the fantasy sequences in Big Fish, or the circus sequences in Big Fish. Whatever they're at, carnival, kind of, whatever they are. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie. There's like a circus in that, isn't there? Yeah?
I remember, there's a circus. Yeah. About circus freaks or something.
Yeah.
Wasn't that couldn't have been CG. Big Fish, clearly. Matte paintings?
I'll go out on a limb and say no, and I might be instantly proven wrong if I looked up an image from it. But I don't think so. That wasn't the era for it. This feels like the era for just copping out with your production design.
Yeah, that's so true. Taking an easy way out.
Tell you what, though.
Yeah.
My man crush on Colin Farrell is still intact.
See, there you go.
Because he was like, I saw him for a second, and I went, and I relaxed and went, oh, maybe I'll watch it. And then I saw that he's missing an arm. And I'm like...
He's missing an arm, yeah.
Oh, my God. Where's Colin Farrell's arm?
Okay. Well, maybe Colin Farrell's got you hook, line, sinker. Me, I'm in for the song. I need to hear that song again.
Sure.
Oh, it was intense. It was a bit full on. I got a little bit teary in the end.
Should we talk about the elephant in the room? Being the elephant.
Being the actual elephant. Yes, that's true. Look, I'm going to chalk it up to they're not finished the movie yet. And
you think that CGI is going to get a bit better, do you?
Hopefully he'll look better, yeah. Because if they can make if they can make the panther in Jungle Book look that good, then come on, man. An elephant can't be that hard. Because a panther, you've got like black on black. And you're making him look like his skin is moving like that good. This was a little bit, I was like, oh, that doesn't look great. You know.
Look, it didn't look awful.
Yeah, it didn't look great either.
But I actually I was amazed that I wasn't like, oh, he looks so cute. I just was like, oh yeah, there's an elephant right there. Look at him, he's a small elephant. Whatever.
Really? Jeez.
I don't know, this did nothing for me, man. I feel really, maybe I'm just really jaded at the moment, but this trailer gave me nothing. Gave me
nothing
donuts.
At all.
Even
Nothing at all.
Cute little fucking mini elephant that uses his ears to fly, and I'm like, no.
Maybe we should have talked about the dog trailers. Did you like those dogs, Tys? Did they do something for you?
The ones from the guide dog training one, yeah. I was getting real fucking sad.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe we picked the wrong one.
Maybe I just don't have a tolerance for things that aren't actually existing in reality. Maybe it's finally happened. Maybe it's finally cracked. I can't have emotions anymore for CGI characters.
No, that's not true, because I would point you straight to either Rise of the Planet of the Apes or any of the Planet of the Apes, and I'm going to watch Tyson just grow a heart. You know.
Fair call.
Yeah, especially that first one. Come on. Oh my God. Okay, there we go.
Let's move on.
Move on. We talked about enough.
Yeah, I think so. So the other thing we wanted to talk about this week is there was a little bit of an influx of... well, not really a little bit of an influx. There were two trailers that were similar. We're starting to see a little bit of a trend in this, Nick. The last couple of weeks we've had trailers with like similar themes and stuff pop up, and I think it's kind of, maybe it's going to become more normal. Maybe that's like a Hollywood thing. It's like if they see, oh, hang on, our female vigilante movie is also coming out, and they've just released their trailer for their female vigilante movie. So we better release ours really soon. So maybe this is going to be maybe this is just going to be the norm now, because there's so many competing film like IPs. Everyone's trying to tap into the same IP.
Yeah.
As soon as they see that one of them's released the trailer for theirs, the other one's like, shit, go trailer, go.
What have we got? We got nothing. Just do a teaser. Shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whip up a crappy teaser. So this week we had the small but ever growing genre of horror movies / thrillers, all set inside a computer screen.
Yeah. So all of these pop-ups happening. One is called Searching, starring John Cho.
911, what's your emergency?
I'm calling to report a missing person.
Okay, who is this regarding? My daughter.
I'm the detective assigned to your daughter's case. I need to know how everything unfolded.
Understood.
I think we're gonna go late, like, all night.
1. After a study session, Margot didn't return home.
Margot Kim, school has her marked as absent today.
2. She didn't attend school on Friday.
My daughter is in a lesson with you right now?
Margot canceled her classes 6 months ago.
And 3. She's been transferring funds for the last 6 months. We'll handle the ground investigation, but as a parent, you can help us with who your daughter talks to. Is that something you can do?
Yes.
John Cho.
I love John Cho.
Harold.
Harold from Harold and Kumar. Or
very underrated movies, the Harold and Kumar movies.
Or Zulu from the new Star Trek.
Of course. Or the guy that invents the term MILF in American Pie.
I can't believe you remembered that.
Yeah.
That is gold. And the other one, so that's Searching is a dad, basically. His 16-year-old daughter goes missing, desperate to find her. He goes into a laptop and finds clues on a laptop. Now, from there, you see little pop-ups on the screen in which he's looking at friends that she's liked or things that she's gone to and blah, 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 and all social media intertwines and all that stuff, and he maybe finds her.
Yeah.
And the other one, what is the other one? Unfriend? Is it Unfriended 2?
Well, then we also have, Unfriended 2, or is it just Unfriended, the Dark Web.
Yo! Hey, buddy, how you doing?
It is game night.
Ow! Hey, you ready for this?
I got a new laptop.
Actually new.
There's a cyber cafe that I've been working at, and this computer was sitting in the lost and found for the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Hang on, you stole someone's computer?
I didn't steal it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's messed up.
And I found this folder, it was hidden. And it automatically connects you to this thing.
Dude, this is dark web.
What's dark web?
Part of the internet where no one can track you.
It's all about drugs, illegal IDs, even assassination for hire. Hey, yeah, the dark net is mostly about the bad guys.
And this computer...
It's got videos on it, right? Check this out.
That looked way too real. I think that is real.
Guys, that's what they're trading.
Trade what?
All those videos.
We have to do something, and we have to do it now.
Who's that?
The dark web, as opposed to the light web.
Well, yes, because the light web is where, you watch porn.
Yeah. Oh, right. Awesome.
The dark web's where you do some real shady shit.
Real scary stuff.
Yeah, so we've got kind of opposing levels of class and sophistication as well. We've got because this I don't know if you happen to see. I haven't seen the first Unfriended, but I have seen a few YouTube kind of deconstructions of why it's awful. So I've almost practically seen the whole thing, and it is not my cup of tea at all. It is a gimmick pushed to its nth degree, I think, and it is. I just don't want to see that. And this is coming from a guy I really liked the Catfish movie. I think I've talked about this before.
Oh, I love that movie.
I thought it was great. And so I'm okay with a trashy millennial gimmick.
Yeah,
I'm okay with it. This one doesn't work.
This one doesn't work. Why? Because we're getting these. Well, the reason I wanted to bring this up is: are there people out there that like this? Just straight yes.
100%. 100%. Yeah, no, because there is. If you think about the way that people watch movies nowadays, there's a really big...
It's on a laptop.
A really big portion of people don't go to the cinema anymore. They watch all their movies on a laptop. So to watch a movie that looks like it's happening on a laptop, on your laptop, it's the equivalent of 3D in the 80s. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's actually an immersive experience. What I think is really interesting about this stuff is, why the fuck would you see it in a cinema? It would be what a stupid waste of time.
That would be a really big waste of time. That would be insane. These aren't showing at the cinema. They can't be. Are they really? No.
Well, I mean, they must be showing somewhere because they're trying to make some money back. Unfriended Dark Web is a trashy, like, horror movie that could potentially make maybe 12 to 15 mil on its opening weekend. So yeah, put it in a theater.
Seriously.
To be honest though, and this isn't saying much, the Dark Web did look slightly better than, like, it looks like it's slightly more. The first Unfriended was legit like the ghost of a girl that committed suicide because
online
they made fun of a video where she fucking got drunk and shat herself or something, and so
isn't that a nice thing to make a movie?
And so it obviously made all its protagonists really likable from the outset, of course. And one of them was cheating on somebody else, and the other one was doing something and being naughty and all naughty. And all these, so they were all just garbage humans, and and then the ghost of her infected the computers, and I don't know. And so,
can you spoil it for me? What happens in the end?
I can't remember. They all die. They all die, and there's a terrible jump scare. Like, that's how every horror movie ends at the moment. So true. Yeah, but this looks like it's actually kind of. I like the premise. I like the idea that it's just someone that has found a laptop,
right?
And he found it in some lost property.
And
has opened it up, and he's just joined his friends and having a chat. And he's like, "Hey, I found this laptop." And then while they're looking through it, he stumbles across all this really shady shit that this person was doing on the dark web, which I mean,
so it's almost like a poor man's version of The Ring. Should they find a videotape?
I don't actually think there's a supernatural element to this one.
Okay.
I think this one is all the people that have been doing all this. I think it's more slasher kind of style, because they end up finding videos of like snuff films and shit like that, and so the guys that are trying to sell that all are like, "Hey, someone's found our laptop, we need to track down these fuckers and kill them."
Right.
So I like it. There's a bit of a slasher element there.
If I was a teenager, I'd probably watch this, Tyson. You've sold it to me. I haven't even seen the trailer.
That was not my intention.
Okay.
My intention, if anything, was to do the opposite.
But Searching looked good. Searching had me kind of intrigued.
Searching does kind of look good.
I don't like the dad looking into, like John literally looking into the camera of his computer and acting to the computer, because that's all it was.
Well,
there was some cutaway shots and things like that, but
you got to think how you'd have conversations, because it looks like a lot of it is going to be conversations with people on Skype and on Facebook Messenger and on like just any FaceTime stuff and all that kind of stuff. And so, like, if we're doing that right now, so I'm looking directly at your face. So there is that element of that where.
So if you see someone behind here walk past,
Nick, turn around, Nick. Didn't we do this gag last week? I feel like we did this last week.
We did. But it's funnier now because we're in a scary movie.
Because we're actually talking about it. Yeah, look, Searching does look more interesting because I think they've taken what can be a very trashy premise and tried to inject a little bit of creativity in it. I think the way that it's not catered to a trashy teenage kind of horror audience, get as many bums in the seats on the first weekend and then bury it from there on. It looks like they're trying to do something interesting with it. There was also a movie a couple of years ago, I think it was Open Windows, I want to say it was called, with Elijah Wood.
Oh.
Which was a horror movie with a similar premise. I think that's it. Open Windows?
Open Windows, 2014, Elijah Wood and Sasha Grey, if those of you who know who Sasha Grey is.
No, speaking of watching porn.
And the director's name is Nacho.
Nacho Vidal? Oh.
Nacho Vidal, no. I'm going to give it a shot. Vingondolo. I don't know who he is.
That rings a bell.
Okay. Oh, he was the writer of Colossal.
The writer and director of Colossal, yeah.
There you go.
Very good. I'm going to watch that movie.
Open Windows.
Yeah,
so you just sold it to yourself.
I did just sell it to myself.
Why did you bring this up?
Well, because the Colossal's a really good movie. No, I bought this up. I bought that up because that's it's the same movie. It's basically it's all told through the computer screens and stuff.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this isn't like it's not the first time this has happened. I'm sure there have been other instances of this as well, but that's the only one I can think of.
Okay. There was. I'm pretty sure there was.
Well, aside from Unfriended, yeah, the first Unfriended. I don't know what else
there was. There was one before that. But anyway, who cares?
Some kind of Skype murderer movie.
Yes, the Skype murderer movie.
Yes, of course.
Do you remember that one?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
That was its title?
That's its title.
That was a good
but this
one.
is the new thing. This is the thing. We've done our paranormal activity section of horror, and now we're going into social media, and soon there will be
It's really just an extension of found footage, though, isn't it? Like
it is absolutely it is.
It's not
like it's not happening in real time.
It's not even the same kind of excitement that found footage brought to anything. Like, because found footage was actually a pretty big deal. Like obviously Blair Witch Project was incredible. But when Paranormal Activity came around again and it really took off again.
Yeah,
it was a big deal.
It was massive.
People found it really inventive because it allowed you creativity to do some things on a really, really cheap budget. Really cheap.
And that first Paranormal, that was extremely cheap, but very, very fucking scary.
Sure.
Like, that was good.
Excuse me.
And I was one of the ones who when I was a teenager, because Blair Witch came out, I was in year 12, I think, year 11, year 12. And I bought into it. I thought it was real. All of the internet that go to the website and all that shit, I went to it and I ate it up. They had like still pictures of just a bag in a fucking forest, and that was it. And they're like, "Look at this bag! We found this bag! Oh my god, whose is it?" And I'm like, "Oh fuck, it's a bag!"
I love the way you told that story, man. That's so funny. That's great.
So stupid, seriously.
Yeah. No, but I'm with you, man. I watched at least...
Man, he was a bit of a shit.
I watched at least 3 documentaries about fucking the Blair Witch. Like, at least. What a fucking douchebag.
And Tyson, the best part about this story is they made so much money.
They did.
They made so much money.
They made all the money off us.
Jesus.
Off us fucking idiots.
Well done.
Did watch that second one too, though. That's.
Oh, I did. I watched it again.
Yeah.
I was like, well, clearly it'll be good. And Jesus Christ, it wasn't.
Oh man, some wild shit happens in that movie, and also nothing. Like, it's one of those.
I
weird
would like
movies.
to do that podcast. Let's do that fucking Blair Witch 2.
Book of Shadows.
What is it called?
Book of Shadows.
Book of Shadows. Yeah. Jesus Christ. That's
I remember it well.
Let's do that. We'll do that one day.
For all 7 people in the universe that remember it existed. Are we done? Are we done talking about those? We didn't exactly. Are you going to see either of those in a cinema?
Look, I'm not going to see Dumbo, but I will watch Dumbo. But I'm interested in searching.
By the time Dumbo comes out, at what age do you start taking your son to the cinema?
To the cinema? Well, for starters, I am very aware of other people in the cinema, so I will be taking him to a parent. They have parent viewings,
parent
so
screenings in the mornings.
Yeah, I'll be doing that. I don't know, 3, 4.
Sure. So you got a bit of time.
I got a bit of time. My son did just turn 1 today.
Oh, happy birthday, Clark.
Happy birthday, little Clark.
Oh, bless him.
He was so spoiled.
I bet he was.
We spoiled him rotten by, we watched, oh God, it's lost me. We watched, oh my God, it's sitting right there. We watched Aladdin, and it was lovely.
Nice.
We did. We watched Aladdin. We had breakfast to it, and it was lovely. And then he got bored and started playing with the light switch again.
Yeah, because deep down he doesn't realise what the fuck's going on.
No, he's like, yeah, that's fun. That TV's massive.
He's just like, hey, how come I'm getting to watch some cool shit today?
Yeah.
I wonder what that's all about. Do I get to do this every day from now on? As something just changed? And then tomorrow, think about how disappointed he's going to be tomorrow.
Tomorrow he'll be fine. He's going to his grandma's and he's getting more birthday presents.
Well, he's like, he's living it up.
This kid's fine. This kid is totally fine.
He doesn't know what the fuck's going on. He reckons all of a sudden he's just like, damn it, this is the best.
You want owed to be a toddler, seriously. Yeah. Just shoot yourself wherever you want. People take care of you. It's fine.
It's the dream, isn't it? Just shitting in your pants.
It's really not.
Having people clean it for you.
In about 60 years, that's going to happen. No, not 60 years.
What do you mean?
In about 50 years, that will happen to us.
What do you mean?
People taking care of us because we're shitting our pants.
Oh, right. I thought you meant in 50 years they will have invented the technology.
No!
That you can just shit yourself. And
No.
it goes away.
No, we get old, Tyson.
God,
and we
can
shit
we
our
stop
nappies.
talking about this?
That was hilarious. All right, let's
Oh my
move
God,
on.
let's move on.
Let's have a breather. We're going to have a break because that was pretty insane. And we're going to go to our feature presentation.
Let's do that.
Oh, my God.
And now for our feature presentation.
All right, here we are, Nicholas.
Okay, Tyson. We're here. We're very serious. We're going to talk about Wild Wild West, a Barry Sonnenfeld film. Sonnenfeld? How do you say it?
Sonnenfeld.
Sonnenfeld?
Barry Sonnenfeld, who has made, I would argue, not many good films.
No, he really hasn't. And he just very, like a lot of mediocre things, hasn't he?
Yeah, is he still just coasting on Men in Black goodwill? Is that what... Or
maybe.
Even maybe...
Addams Family? Like that, those were good, weren't they? Wow, he has done nothing good.
Maybe the Addams Family?
Maybe the Addams Family? No.
It's not the Concierge, I'll tell you that much. I will tell you this. He has made one, and I wanted to double check in case I had gotten the name wrong, but he has made one exceptionally good movie, and that is Get Shorty. Get Shorty
yes, he did do that, and that is awesome.
is fantastic. I absolutely love Get Shorty, and it's one of my favourite comedies of the 90s.
Yeah.
I would wager that is his only good movie.
Would you chalk that up to the fact of the writers, though? The writers are that good?
To a degree, yes.
To a degree?
Yeah. I mean, when you're basing it off an Elmore Leonard novel, you've already got a fair bit of the hard work done. Yeah. Scott Frank, who wrote the screenplay to Logan, and one of my underrated favourite movies that I think I mentioned in the best of whatever year we did last time, The Lookout.
That's right, yes, you did.
So I'm obviously a fan of those two writers. But he still had to point the camera and...
He did, but there wasn't...
do a lot of work, you know?
Barry Sonnenfeld doesn't really have
He doesn't have a distinctive visual style, I would say.
No.
Other than...
But I guess you don't really need to. You need these people. So the people who do have distinctive visual styles go, hey, look at that.
Yeah, look, he's a workman-like director. He does... I would say he kind of does have a visual style, to be interesting, to be honest. He's... and it's... The visual style is that of kind of trashy... kitschy kind of
slap happy,
like yeah. I mean, he obviously knows how to shoot a movie. If you look through his director of photography credits, there's some great stuff. He's worked with the Coens, he's worked with Penny Marshall, he's worked with Rob Reiner. So I think he knows his way around a shot. I just don't think he can direct. I don't think he should be choosing those shots. I think he should be letting someone else tell him what they want, and then he can set it up himself. Anyway, Barry Sonnenfeld. So I'm arguing he has made two fine movies in the Addams Family movies, and one great movie.
The first Men in Black was okay.
I don't care for it. I don't care for any of the Men in Black movies.
Really? Why is that?
I actually think the third one's the best.
The third? Jesus.
And I mean that only because I thought that they tried to do something interesting with it, and I was like, well, it's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, it's been a while. I know they reek of the 90s, the Men in Black movies.
I just never warmed to them. I don't know why.
Okay.
So anyway, which brings us to Wild Wild West, which is kind of the movie that ruined his career, I would say.
I would say yes, which is why we're doing it.
Nicholas, this movie has an incredible reputation. Like it is one of those films that is talked about in circles of filmgoers everywhere as like a complete like dumpster fire of a movie.
Absolutely hated all round. Everyone hates this thing. Even the actors have gone into, so like years later, Will Smith and Kevin Kline have gone into interviews. They've brought it up, and they're like, yeah, it fucking sucked. You could tell the movie was sucky. And they hated it. Kevin Kline even goes further in saying that he felt that he was wasted talent on that movie.
I would argue that is a very true statement. Kevin Kline is wonderful. I love Kevin Kline. I think he should be in more things. He is always good, if not great. I think he is one of the most underrated, like,
comedy actors. Like his comedy
and dramatic actors
is on point, man.
Yeah.
He's great.
And look, I say underrated because which sounds kind of dumb. The guy has a fucking Oscar and stuff, but he doesn't come up a lot in the conversation when it's like, who are those actors that are just so great in a comedy? Or even like, I just think he's great in anything. Who are those guys? And it's very rarely do you get people go, oh man, Kevin Kline's my man.
Kevin Kline's awesome.
But they should more often because he is never. Like, I mean, you know, it's a bit of hyperbole for today, but I would say he's never terrible. He's always at least good. Even in this, he has moments and these little bright sparks that you're just like, oh, if this was a better movie, you could just see what he was trying to do and what he was trying to go for. I'd say he's the best thing in it, but that's kind of saying like, you know,
he's the best piece of the pile of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the nicest piece of the pile of shit.
The warmest, most
unsmelliest piece of the pile.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so, but like these actors, you can tell that they were there to do a role. It was getting either rewritten or something was happening behind the scenes.
Well, there's no consistency to anything.
No,
there's no flow to the scenes. This thing it's a long movie, and the movie just stops dead sometimes for things to happen that have absolutely no bearing on the plot, and also don't even really further character development. It's like for the bit with the collars, the bit with the magnetic collars.
Yeah. What was the point of it?
Well, there is no point of it. Because at the end of all this tomfoolery, which I suppose is meant to be funny, he just goes, "Oh, there's my tools that I forgot I had in my pocket."
Yes,
and you go, and the scene ends, and I'm like, "You are not fucking serious. Is that how this scene ends? The scene ends that he finds the things that he forgot fell out of his pocket."
Yes,
you are kidding me, like. I just sat and watched that for 7 minutes, and I didn't laugh once. I didn't feel anything, and this is how you finish a scene. I have never been so mad in my life at a movie. It's like, you cannot do that.
Oh, it was terrible, and they did. And then the only reason that they keep onto that metal magnetic collar thing is so that they can find the train tracks again. And it's such a stupid, like... oh, this is why they kept onto it, and this is why the scene happened. And I'm like, no. There's no reason for to have that. It was terrible, and you just don't want to admit it.
Everything is a contrivance.
Yes.
Yeah? So, yes, you're right. Like, I think they even try to, like, lamppost it a little bit. Or, like, I think one of them says, why are you still holding on to that thing?
Yeah.
Oh, he does. Oh, well, you got to study it.
It's going to come in handy. And then they think, oh, fuck
well,
off.
you never know. We might need a magnet really soon. If they had done that, at least it might have actually been funny. I mean, I don't understand. Is this meant to be a comedy? I was so confused.
Well, I took it as a comedy because only at the end did I realise, because I was like, where was the action scenes? Was there an action scene in this? Like, this would be okay. Like, these type of movies, you're like, oh, yeah, it was really shit. But that action, geez, that was good. Or that comedy, fuck, it was funny. This had neither. So you're like, well, what the fuck was the point?
There was an action scene.
Oh?
There were a few action scenes, I would wager. I would argue. There were a few action scenes. There was one on a train.
Right.
When there was some punching going on a train.
There was punching going on a train?
Yes.
There was punching on a train. When was the punching on the train?
There was the...
there was the end?
There was the end, yes. There was I believe what was meant to be an action scene in the brothel or the bordello or whatever that...
Oh, yeah.
The saloon.
Yeah. The saloon, yeah.
But I don't know, maybe that's it, maybe? I don't know. Do you know what? If you gave me $1 million to tell you what the fuck was going on in this movie, I couldn't tell you.
And I did lose that $1 million.
I would lose that $1 million. I'd be upset because not only did I watch this, I'd also lose $1 million for not remembering what the plot was.
And not get that time back. You'd be like, damn, that was, fuck you.
Yeah.
What are you, the devil?
Yes, like, they go all over the place on this train.
Yeah.
For no good reason.
And so many so many bad jokes in this thing as well. Like, nothing hits, nothing lands. I think I laughed once at something that Kevin Kline said, and that was it.
Yes.
But it was the way that he said it. It wasn't the line that he said. It was the way that he said it.
Look, there was the occasionally, and I don't want to give this too much credit, there was the occasional almost clever line of dialogue.
Right.
Like, just little moment where it was like, that had some rhythm to it. That was actually not terrible. It didn't sound like hot garbage coming out of your mouth. So and that sometimes I never laughed. I did not laugh once. I think my jaw was like dropped to the ground for half of this thing. I can't even I couldn't even believe that it was not only as bad as everyone says, but worse.
Yeah.
Like, so my expectations were in the fucking dumpster. Like, they were so low, and yet this thing managed to be worse than that.
But geez, that Will Smith, he's
isn't
sexy,
he just charismatic? Isn't he?
Fuck, he's nice. He's really he's a track. He's going to be really good one day.
He's going to be a superstar.
He's going to be a superstar. I bet you he gets an Oscar soon.
I feel bad for Will Smith in this. Because,
I don't.
Because I think he's trying. I think he tries. I think he's trying to do his. It's very similar to his Independence Day shtick. It feels, which I mean which is obviously just his shtick at that time. But I think he tries. He thinks he's more. He thinks he's funnier than he is, which is a problem.
Yeah, he's not actually that funny.
Well, the problem is,
I think he's better at action than he is funny.
I agree. I think he does action stuff better than comedy. But it's also because he had nothing to help him.
No, that's true. It's not his fault.
Nobody could make some of this stuff an actual joke.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, this, like, it felt like so much of it was just, and Will Smith, you riff a bit here. Like that whole scene where they're about to lynch him.
Yeah.
Which
was terrible.
By the way, like...
I know. I wrote down my note for that. I have a note for that. I'm like, I don't think enough time has passed for lynching jokes. I really don't.
I don't know if we're ever going to...
No.
Well, look...
No, there will be enough time, but I'm talking in
not
the
Barry
thousands of decades.
Not Barry Sonnenfeld, though.
No.
Mel Brooks can probably make a lynching gag.
Sure.
I reckon there might be a few in Blazing Saddles. And
Quentin, you can't either. Quentin, no. For the things that you try to do, no, you can't do it.
I don't think he's ready yet either.
No, you're not allowed either. But yeah, I don't think there is ever a good time for lynching gags.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's also not good times for it. There's not good times for who could be... how to deliver racist wordplay. Like the scene with him and Kenneth Branagh, who... I'm sorry, Kenneth Branagh.
With Kenneth Branagh, by the way.
Kenneth Branagh. Oh, my God, he's...
Ladies and gentlemen, Academy Award-winning Kenneth Branagh.
Shakespeare's darling, Kenneth Branagh.
Sir Kenneth Branagh.
Wheeling himself around on this fucking thing, given this awful performance.
But, geez, his accent is good, I tell you what.
Oh, Jesus. What is with this scene of them just sitting against each other, and Will Smith is giving bad puns about not having legs, and Kenneth Branagh's giving him puns about being a slave.
Yeah, no. I was like, oh, okay. Is there someone writing? Is there someone like? Oh, jeez.
But why are we meant to be laughing? Why do they think? Who sat down and thought, hey, that's really funny?
You know what's funny?
What's funny, Nick?
Shit, I forgot. Oh no. If I were to be a comedic writer, now for starters, that is a very, very, very fucking hard thing to do. Comedy is what is the word I'm looking for, Tyson? It's a personal thing, something that you find funny.
Subjective.
Tyson. It's subjective. Yeah, I may not find funny. So to write something that is funny, but I would want a different crowd of people around the table, and I would want everyone to laugh at what was written in this script. This did not happen during the writing of this film. No way.
Well, from what I read, that it was very much written on the fly. Yeah. So they had a rough. Do you know what? This was a fucking. Hang on, we've talked about him. Shane Black. This was a Shane Black potentially scripted project.
What?
Originally, because they wanted to make it in the early '90s with Mel Gibson, Shane Black written.
Oh.
Screenplay.
I did not know that. There's no way that that'd be...
Look, I reckon if there's even anything close to a clever line in it, it might be Shane Black's. It might be residue from Shane Black.
Residue.
I could not see Shane Black thinking that a scene like that one between Will Smith and Kenneth Branagh, when they're punning about racist things and being being a cripple.
Yeah.
I just don't see Shane Black finding that funny. I don't find anyone finding that funny. I don't feel like anyone in a room would have said that's a good idea.
What else have I got? Give me some notes. Give me something that you've written down.
Okay, so I got to a point where I just ended up having to write down all the things that would drive me up the wall.
This will be a short list, clearly.
Yeah, very short, very short.
Very short.
So this film has no sense of space. So multiple times through the movie, things happen that any normal human being would have either seen or heard, or not seen or heard. And in this film, the opposite happens. So there's the scene where they're trying to hammer in the pin to the railroad. And the pin, it goes way too long. It goes way too long. The rules of comedy do not apply to that scene. They've got no idea what they're doing. So, there's the bit... So, obviously, it's obviously the stamping of the spider leg that is knocking the thing out, right?
Yes. Yep.
But everyone's looking at it like, oh, what did that?
What's going
Must
on?
be magic. When there is a giant mechanical spider, I would say probably 100 meters away. It's been coming at them. It's been established that it's very loud.
Yeah.
It's been established that it makes enough of a ground swell to make a railway nail, giant fucking railway nail, pop out of the ground. Yet everyone sits there and like, something. Wonder what's
something's
happening.
going on with the nail.
Something's interesting with the nail.
It could be the 80-foot fucking spider hurtling towards us.
And so that's
so true.
That
like if it was coming
me.
up behind them, I would understand. But no.
Yet
straight at them.
Exactly. So that shit pisses me. Like that is just. It is so just
dumb.
There is no other word to use. I was trying to find a better word. It is, but it doesn't deserve a better word.
No, it doesn't deserve it. Don't get articulate with Wild Wild West. It's dumb.
But then on the other side of things, there's the really odd saloon action scene that it's no good anyway. When Kevin Kline's in the dress and all this kind of stuff, like it's just. Oh, man, if there was ever a sign that this movie was not for me, it was when Kevin Kline's first appearance is in that dress. And they start doing that whole thing where it's like, oh, damn it, lady, ain't you no whore? It's like, I'm like, oh, no, is this what we're doing? I can't do it. And Kevin Kline's like, oh, no, you don't want me. I'm oh, God, this is just, I was just so not on board.
All right, so I'm going to try and find a list of movie. I'm going to write down, while we're doing this, I'm going to write down a list of movies that you would rather watch than Wild Wild West that are just as shit.
I reckon that is, I don't know, man.
Come on.
I don't know if you could, because it's so fresh in my mind how much I hate this movie. I think I will try and watch anything else before watching this again. Anyway, so this whole... Okay, so they're sitting there and they're doing this thing, right?
Yeah.
They've met on the top of the... Like, it's on the top level of the saloon. And they've discovered each other's cost... they're on the same side.
They found out each other that they're on the law. Yeah.
And then they both have this moment where Artemis, or whatever his name is, the bad guy, has pushed a cart of nitro towards them. Now, this is the opposite of the spider situation, because a cart of nitro doesn't make noise.
It would be quite quiet, yeah.
It would be very quiet. It's not exactly visually catching because it's dark outside.
Yeah.
Yet, they both do this thing where they turn towards and like, what are we going to do now? Because they know that the nitro is heading for them. So what?
So bad.
What are they doing? They can't have it both ways. You can't have this kind of idea where it's like, oh no, they can't see it because it's even though it's loud and really close, we're going to pretend they can't see it and then have them see something that they would never be able to see.
So true.
I hate this movie, Nicholas. I hate it.
You heard it here first. And this is why I wanted to do this, ladies and gentlemen. If you're wondering why, is because normally I'm the one who gets a bit pissed off when we do mic checks. Tyson goes, okay, Nick, me really loud. And I'm like, okay, this is me fucking really pissed off because why the fuck would anyone watch Justice League? Why would anyone watch that? And in that, Tyson is the one going, well, maybe, sometimes it's good to watch this. And that's why we're getting the reverse.
I would watch Justice League every day for the rest of my life instead of watching this movie again.
Okay, that's one. Justice League. Keep going. What else you got?
Done.
The one note that I wanted to bring up, which was bizarre, because I stopped writing notes about halfway down because I was just like, there's no point. I've even written there's no point writing notes here. And then I've just started writing things that are just bizarre to me. So in this, obviously, for this movie, strong female characters are out the fucking window here. Of course, it's still 99, so we have no idea what we're doing. And so the character that Salma Hayek plays is just there for exposition and ass jokes. That's it. To perv on someone. That's really it.
Yeah, literally.
That's it.
She's Salma Hayek is an incredibly good-looking lady, and they are using her for no other purpose other than we can kind of create what they think is comedy, which is a kind of like a love, not a love triangle, but like the two of them trying to one up each other to get her. Yeah, which is not funny in any way, shape, or form. And put her in like pajamas with her butt flap undone. Yeah,
or in just a really tight corset, and that's it. Oh, it was terrible.
I was actually even slightly more offended with Bai Ling's one. Because
when she comes onto Will Smith,
and they have an incredibly gratuitous "just here is her butt." As he plonks it down on the desk. And I was like, okay.
Was there a reason for that?
Well, this comes back to a larger problem I had with the film is that nobody knows who this film is for. I could have sworn this movie was a kids' movie. Like, not a kids' movie, but like a movie that teenagers would like because it's like 13-year-olds because it's like, haha, it's got gadgets and Will Smith being funny and blah, 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 blah.
Or even like 10 to 12.
Maybe.
Even. Yeah.
But within the first 5 minutes, I'm fairly certain we see Will Smith's balls.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we do, yeah.
At least, like,
twice.
Taint. You see some, like...
Taint!
And it's just there. And the camera does this, like, pan down. It pans down from it, doesn't it?
Oh, my God.
And I was like, this is not a kid's movie. And I was misled. Because then from there, we get all these ass jokes. And, like, Bai Ling has to flap her dress up so Will Smith can flop her butt down onto the table. And then we have the jokes about, I may be missing legs, but I've worked something out. And then the terrible cut to that machine that starts pumping.
That's so true.
I'm like, who is this for? Who is it for?
And the jokes that didn't land, but you didn't really know what they were doing, so they ended up just being kind of offensive. Like the, Jesus Christ. The driver of the train overhearing the two main characters. Oh my God,
the gay panic. The gay panic in this movie.
Fucking hell. Gay panic. That's a good way to put it. I'd never heard of that before.
You've never heard of gay panic before? Gay panic is everywhere.
What the fuck? Now touch my boob. Doesn't that feel better? Like, I'm like, seriously?
God.
Who cares? This isn't funny. It's really not funny.
You can just see that one guy watching this in a cinema, like the one guy. And when M. Emmett Walsh, is it M. Emmett Walsh?
Yeah.
Leans his head back out and goes, I knew it, or whatever. You just know there's one guy that's like, ha ha, yeah, fucking I knew it.
Seriously?
I don't know who it's for.
I thought the joke was going to be, you don't know what a breast feels like. Like in 40-Year-Old Virgin when he says, it feels like a bag of sand.
Yeah, sure,
and they go,
sure.
Bag of sand? Have you
That's
got
it, when he says buckwheat. Buckwheat?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Doesn't boobs don't feel like buckwheat? I thought that was going to be the joke.
Oh, but then it was like someone said, "Oh, I'm hard now," or something like that, and it was just like, "Oh, can we just not? Can we not?"
It was terrible.
Like, what an awful time to be alive in. Like, why was it? Having been alive during it, why was it that it was like? And I pretty much everything is guilty of it. Like, Friends is guilty of it. Friends is guilty of a lot of gay panic.
Really?
Like Seinfeld even. Like, one of the great Seinfeld quotes is...
I thought we were going to have a steam.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's the same... It's kind of the same the same premise where it's like we can laugh, ha ha ha, isn't it really funny when
two men kind of having a relationship.
Just share a relationship, but it's not gay, so it's totally fine.
Okay. But it's not gay. But we said it was not gay. No, it doesn't. You're missing the point.
Yeah, it's so. Yeah. Oh man, I just. It's still really like I mean now that you're exposed to it, it's so much more uncomfortable. But like I mean really I think I probably was guilty of it too. I would have probably laughed at that stuff back then, I reckon.
I wouldn't have. I would have laughed at. Remember when we did Can't Hardly Wait, and the word that we hate is screamed at the end. That I would have laughed at.
Sure.
But yeah, this I wouldn't have laughed at. I would have just gone, I don't get what's happening. I don't get what's funny or what's supposed to be funny. Like supposed to be funny. Yeah. Anyway,
I think that's this movie in a nutshell, isn't it? It's supposed to be funny, and it is not.
Not.
I want to know, what is this movie's fascination with men dressing up as women?
I was going to say that's where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah. What is it?
A lot of drag.
There's a lot of drag, but it's not like it's drag. It's drag in a kind of offensive manner too. Like, you know, it's downgrade. It's degradingly drag. Do you know what I mean? They're giving no power to the people. It's like Kevin Kline, whenever he's in drag, it's always like, you know, what a mannish looking woman you are, basically.
It's not like you're pulling it off. They don't give him like mad compliments. Oh wow, you know.
No, well, Will Smith does something like, "You're such a broad woman, you must get a big price" or something, and it's like, that's not. This isn't.
That's not. I love that there are movies now that you can't watch again. Like you literally can't because of what happens in them. Because they're so out of touch with reality now.
This movie
become offensive.
Has zero idea of reality. So I'm trying to think, maybe it was meant to be like a really broad kind of farce. Maybe it was meant to be along the lines of like a Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Oh, okay.
But somewhere along the line, we've kind of... It's been diluted a little bit and was turned into like an action adventure, except they didn't carry the tone over. And so now we've just got... Because let's be real. Something like Airplane... Maybe not Airplane, because Airplane's great, but let's say something like Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Sure.
Or even actually... No, this is a better example. Let's go like Scary Movie 3. Right? Scary Movie 3.
Scary Movie.
I'm saying
Why
this
not one?
because I think Scary Movie 3 is the best of the scary movies.
Oh my god! Okay,
which is not a statement that I have any kind of pride in saying. The fact that I have seen 4 of the 5 scary movies, so I can tell you which one is my favorite of those.
I have a story about Scary Movie 4. Continue after this.
So let's say, for instance, Scary Movie 3 was presented as not a spoof, but a horror comedy.
Right.
It would be awful. Absolutely awful. Because if you're not going 150% with that characterization, with that kind of level of just buffoonery to make it work, to make it an actual spoof, an actual satire, it doesn't work at all. It wouldn't work in any way, shape, or form. I say 3 because I think, I think 1 and 2 are their own kind of bags. 1 and 2 are very Wayans Brothers movies, which are very, I feel like, is a different form of satire. Satire. So maybe this was pitched initially as, let's do a spoof of these old 60s television shows, and let's choose Wild Wild West as the one we use. Yeah?
Yeah.
And then just somewhere along the line, everyone got their fucking fingers in it, and it became no, we can do this as like we can get more people through the door. Let's not spoof it. Let's make it like an action adventure with a bit of comedy. Let's get the families in. Let's get the dads in. And let's
get everyone in, and the kids.
Yeah, let's get fucking Sonnenfeld to direct it.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Let's get a bit of Men in Black, man. He's hot, man. This guy's hot right now. Let's get him in.
Will Smith, man, but he's done Men in Black, but he's also done Bad Boys. So we should have some action in it. Okay, we'll have him punch some people. All right.
And maybe we're just staring at a complete, like, maybe the original screenwriters of this who have since been carted off to the loony bin, but on their way to the loony bin, kept trying to grab people by the shirt coat and say it was meant to be a spoof. It was meant to be a spoof.
That's so
and
true.
No one believes them, and so now they'll never work again.
That's true. Because they're nailed to that. If you've worked on this film and people remember you for that, that's a hard day. That's a hard blow to the career.
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's like, well, you're a makeup.
And I love it. Did you read that Will Smith turned down The Matrix to be in this thing? Fuck.
I mean, there are so many. There are so many great stories like that. There is, of course, there's the Tom Selleck turned down Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
There is, this one, the Sean Connery turning down Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. Like, there are quite a few of these. This has got to be one of the worst. Because at least in all those other circumstances, like, everyone was okay. Everyone kind of... Tom Selleck, I mean, maybe... Could you imagine a world where Tom Selleck is Harrison Ford?
That's weird.
I'm not sure how I feel about that world.
That's weird. Only because I'm like, well, where is Harrison Ford in my world?
Well, Harrison Ford would have still played... He'd still be Han Solo, because it was prior to the first Indy.
Yeah.
But he might have just been Han Solo.
Yeah, that'd be weird. That's weird for me.
I'm interested in a world where Tom Selleck is also Han Solo.
Oh, what is the mustache in it? It's in it all the way through.
Always.
Yeah, always.
And I'm also interested in a world where Harrison Ford is in 3 Men and a Baby. I'm also interested in that.
And Harrison Ford is also in Friends.
Oh my God, Harrison Ford is Richard on Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. This alternate reality. I want to spend some time in this alternate reality.
Okay. All right.
The world where Will Smith is in The Matrix. I don't give a fuck about that universe.
Oh, I'd like to say... No, actually, no, I don't want to say it. No.
Man, do not deny my boy Keanu. Do not.
You don't know if he's going for that role. It may be a different role.
No, it was the Neo role.
Are we sure about that?
Yeah, I am. I'm 95% certain it was the Neo role.
Really?
I'm sure. I think I've heard that at one point or another.
No, well, he can fuck off.
Exactly.
Keanu,
don't take nothing away from my boy Keanu.
No. My story about Scary Movie...
can we just talk about other things? I don't want to talk about this fucking...
Yeah, I don't want to. Scary Movie 4. So I was at the end... I was with a girl at the point of my life when Scary Movie came out, and I said, let's go see a movie. She's like, yeah, sure. And there was something that I really, really, really wanted to see. We got to the cinema, and she started a fight and went, I'm not seeing that. You always get to pick the movie. I'm like, okay, all right, fine. You pick the movie. What are we watching? And she made me see Scary Movie 4 at the fucking cinema, Tyson. And that was a waste of money. And I was like, okay. Unfortunately, this is where, we're going to have to break up.
Yeah, this is where I leave you, unfortunately.
This is where I leave you. And I think it was about 2 or 3 days later, I just went, yeah, sorry, we're going to be friends.
It's a shame that you didn't take you to Scary Movie 3, which is, in my opinion, an underrated gem of
how many scary movies are there?
There are 5, I believe.
5?
I have no interest.
Jesus.
Number 5 I have seen maybe 5 minutes of, and I have decided that I am past the Scary Movie phase.
You're done? Wow, there are. Scary Movie 5, 2013.
Yes.
Shit. That's hilarious.
Scary Movie 3. It's deceptively good.
Scary Movie 3. That's hilarious. I will never watch any scary movies ever again.
Oh, really?
No, I don't have time for that shit.
Just watch 1 and 3. You don't need to watch
I've got no time. If I'm going to watch a spoof, I'm going to watch Airplane, which I've never seen.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've never seen Airplane.
Oh, remedy that.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Yeah, that's...
I'm going to spend my time watching, a 70s comedy or an 80s comedy that I haven't seen.
It's worth it in a really strange way, is that it feels like one giant big sketch on Saturday Night Live that just keeps going. Yeah, but like the best sketch they've ever done. Like, it's what it feels like, and it's pretty great.
Tell me. Go.
The other thing I was going to say, I'm done talking about the problems with this movie. I think I just want to.
Yeah, fair.
Let me turn.
Let's talk about anything else. Go on.
Sorry, my note. So much plot-related cross-dressing. I'm like, I've never seen a movie with more like actual plot-related cross-dressing in my life. Like, they were fascinated with it. They were like, and now he can dress as a woman too. I'm like, who are you people? Like, did everyone
who are you people? And why is this?
Was this an elaborate scheme just to see Will Smith do a belly dance? Is this somebody's like elaborate scheme? Anyway, no. So this is the other thing, and I think it's hard to pinpoint exactly why a movie like this doesn't work because it's everything. Yeah. It's everything.
Yes.
And so you end up sitting there and you're overwhelmed with the badness that you can't. Sometimes you can't put your finger on the defining moments.
Yeah.
And I think I found one. Okay. So, and it's to do with the screenwriting. We know what we know about screenwriting, Nick. Is not. I don't know a lot. I know certain things. I know what I like. I know what I don't like, and I know that you
if you don't have it.
Yeah, if you don't have it, you ain't got
it. You really fucking suck straight out of the debate.
But there is something to be said for setups and payoffs.
Sure.
I think a lot of really good screenwriting is setups and payoffs. How to set it up and how to pay it off.
Sure.
There is something that happens in this movie where they fall asleep on the train carriage.
Yes.
They wake up the next morning. Will Smith is getting dressed. He hits his shoe, and the knife comes out.
Yes.
Kevin Kline says something like, "Oh yes, I made some alterations while you were sleeping." Blah 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 blah.
Yes.
Right? He puts the knife away.
Yeah.
That is called the setup.
Yes.
That's it. That's the setup.
That'll be handled later. Yeah.
That'll be handled later. We're going to see the shoe knife later.
Later.
Yes. I didn't realize it would only be 4 minutes later when in the very next fight, he's fighting somebody and he goes, aha, and the knife comes out of the shoe.
Comes out, yeah.
And it's like, that's not how you do it. That's not how you do it at all. If you're going to do it, you've got to set it up.
You do it at the end.
You've either got to, if you do it halfway through your movie, you're setting it up for the end. If you're going to release it halfway through the movie, it's got to be the first thing that happens. It's got to be Kevin Kline. The first meeting they have is he says, "Oh, by the way, I made some alterations to your shoes while you were asleep." And he's like, "What do you mean? What, you're fucking touching my shoes? What are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh, never mind. Yeah. You'll know when you'll see it when you need it."
Yeah,
like it's so like I know nothing about screenwriting, but I know that. You know what I mean? Like, and if I know that, some fucking schmuck in Melbourne who records a podcast, how do they not know it? How do these Hollywood screenwriters not know it?
So true. Yeah.
There is a conversation. There is a conversation that is had. I think. God, I hope I wrote it down. Where one of them says something like, no, I didn't write it down, but it's another one where somebody says something like, along the lines of, after all we've been through, after all we talked about or something, you just told me that this was the most important, and it was 5 minutes, like it was literally the scene before, and so it had no chance to develop the characters in any way, and it became the next driving force. It's like, I'll give this movie credit, there are some setups and payoffs that work.
Yes.
Not work, but there are some that are done the right way. Like the chainmail. That's how you do a setup. He makes it, it exists, we know it exists in the universe.
He doesn't know he has it on.
He doesn't know he has it on. He'd be dead anyway because he fell quite a far way, so it's kind of a waste anyway because...
I wasn't going to mention it, but yes. He falls 80 feet.
He would be mush. His body would be mush.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And there was one other payoff that wasn't terrible. I can't remember what it was. But how can you not see that it just reeks of laziness? It reeks of, it reeks of them just sitting around going, oh, just put out any old shit. They'll love it. And there's the story about the wasp and the tarantula.
Oh, God. Which lasted a whole of 2 seconds, by the way. Like, they got up in the air, they dropped 2 bombs, and that was it. And I was like, what was the point of that? Was it the fact to show off
Actually, I think that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I think because it is. This is. So they're sitting there around the campfire, and he tells the story about the wasp and the tarantula.
Yeah.
And he says, well, what? And out of nowhere, by the way, he goes, hey, look at this wasp. I'm like, all right. I mean, it's not like I'm enjoying anything else that's happening. You want to show me a wasp? I'll watch a fucking wasp for a bit. And he says, look at the wasp. He's going to lay eggs in the tarantula, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, there's no relevance. The very next scene, right? The very next scene. Not even out of it, like nothing has happened between that. Will Smith turns around and goes, hey, remember that story about the wasp and the tarantula? And I'm like, yes, of course he remembers it. It was 12 seconds ago. Like,
what are you getting at? What are you trying to say?
It's so badly structured. There is just
so funny.
Yes, so regardless of the chainmail, he's surely dead. Yes, that's what I wrote.
That's true.
Hey, so what's going on with what happened with the robot man?
I didn't get that either. I actually wrote that down.
Had metal under his skin.
No, hang on a minute. I have one before that. Where the fuck did those henchmen come from?
Well, I actually read this.
Where were they the whole fucking time?
They were reshoots.
Oh.
So, apparently...
Because seriously, they just came out of nowhere.
They just came out of nowhere.
The bad guy having female henchmen or female assassins.
Well, this is the thing. Apparently, people were kind of uncomfortable about the fact that the only people they were beating up were women.
Okay. Oh, really? I wonder why that is.
I know.
Fucking dicks.
I mean, what idiots? Who made this movie?
Fucking dickheads. Seriously.
It's so great. I love that they're sitting there going, hey, they're going to love this. Look at them beating up those chicks. And
look at that.
They're surprised when somebody writes a thing on a test audience and goes,
you were beating up a lot of women.
You were just kind of kicking the shit out of a bunch of women. That's not cool.
But wouldn't you think, like, as one of the actors in this movie as well, wouldn't you think that midway through you're like, yeah, I don't think we should be. Obviously, there's another scene here. Shouldn't we be? We shouldn't be hitting these women. Yes, there should be something else going on. Yes.
Well, no? I mean, they bury themselves in a corner because they make his henchmen women, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. Like, do it.
Yeah.
But then you paint yourself into a corner because then you have to have your heroes fighting the henchmen, and so. Yeah. How do you want to play it? It makes for a really kind of interesting. It's actually I actually think it's a more complicated discussion than what we could have right now because at the same time it's like, okay, so what's wrong with that? Why can't they be the henchmen? And at the same time, it's kind of like, yeah, but it brings up this really kind of, it's a bit of a grey area because then in order to have your heroes succeed, they have to overcome the henchmen, and in what. So what are we talking about here? Do we have to have a bunch of female henchmen get like basically murdered by our heroes? What kind of image is that presenting? So that's probably a more complex conversation. But I guarantee you, this conversation we've just had now is more than anyone involved with the movie had when they were talking about that.
Yes,
so
that's true. On a better movie, they could have done it. Had the movie's henchmen been that of the caliber of Kill Bill.
Man.
Or assassins on that level. Or,
even the way Austin Powers handles it, I reckon might be better than this is handled.
Absolutely.
With the fembots.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Although that might be questionable. I haven't seen that movie for a little while.
We're going to do that.
It could be a real dodge.
No. But even if you were to put, let's say, if it's not a comedy, if it is just a drama action, if you were to put, like in the Black Widow movie, Black Widow's going to go up against men, and they're going to beat the shit out of her, and she's going to beat the shit out of them and win, and no one's going to blink an eye at that.
I think in that
her character is sound.
Yeah, but
like
you're right. I think it might be character based. I think in order you can't have senseless kind of henchmen.
Violence against women, exactly, without giving them character or who they are or how they're trained or anything like that. Because these women are just henchmen, one of them who can lip read and the other one...
Oh, my God. And what's her name, like Lip Readius or some garbage? Like, didn't he say...
It was so bad. It was some stupid thing like Pussy Galore. Like, it really was really
it was.
shit.
Oh,
it was so shit. Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. I think...
Let's talk about something else. Let's end on a high note.
No, there's no high notes.
No, not about the movie. Let's talk about anything else.
No, I've got a couple more things I want to talk about. Ted Levine as the butcher of whatever. He is like, and this is through no fault of his own. He makes me so uncomfortable in this movie. Like every second he's on screen, I want him off the screen.
Why?
Because he is disgusting. They've actually done too good a job with him. His performance is too good for a movie like this because I want him off my television screen. And then if I wrote the note, in capitals. Oh, thank God he's dead. I couldn't look at him anymore. And then he's not dead. And Will Smith goes and talks to him, and I'm like, oh my God, just die and get off this fucking movie.
His ear was disgusting.
It's so disgusting. That moment where he tips it upside down so all the pus comes out.
Yellow pus comes spewing out.
Oh God, who is this movie for? Who is it for?
That's nasty. That's nasty.
So we're obviously in some kind of alternate reality.
Uh-huh.
We're in some kind of reality where it's kind of steampunk-esque, where
it is a little,
where technology is kind of it's moved further along, but we're still living in like colonial times.
Which is so fucking random, yeah.
Because I look at scenes like the bit where he has the man's severed head and shines the light through his eyeballs so that he can see.
Full on, wasn't it?
Well, that it was full on, and it's ludicrous and just and ruined by Will Smith's like one line that he repeats every time,
every second. Yeah.
What does he say?
It's a man's head.
That's right.
And I'm like, dude,
it was like
it's not the first time.
That's it. It can't like it's
if
you deliver it well enough, it's right. If you deliver it well enough, it's funny the first time.
Yeah.
He does it 4 times. 4 times.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Anyway. So that gave me kind of weird, kind of like Hellboy vibes. You know what I mean? Like, like we could be living in this kind of weird, kind of like alternate reality where technology and old traditions have clashed together, and it's like it had some weird potential to it.
Sure.
And I swear to God, by the end of the movie, I was just like, if I see someone else pull a fucking lever or some kind of like trickety track come out of a fucking pocket in their sleeves, I will scream. I was so sick of it.
It was really gadgety, wasn't it? It was really
gadgety. And they were all garbage.
Bad gadgets.
Terrible
really
gadgets.
Bad
Terrible gadgets. I could not believe when I thought back to it that this movie opens with the magnetic collars like they're going to be a really big deal.
Yeah, I know. And you're like, who gives a fuck? Did you hear that? What that guy was yelling? That was so funny. So I didn't even watch the start. I was making a cup of tea while I was watching it.
What did he say?
And he yells, "Oh my God, I've got to tell the president!" And I'm like, who the fuck says that?
I have to tell the president about the magnetic collars. No, he goes, must tell the president, that? Gigantic spider. That's what he says.
Oh my God, that's right. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Awful. And I mean,
speaking of the gigantic spider, Tyson, we have to give some knowledge to our listeners. So this gigantic spider was because of a producer who wanted to put it in Superman Lives, the Nicolas Cage Superman movie, and got denied. Because that Nicolas Cage movie, what happened to that Nicolas Cage Superman movie?
Oh, I just don't think it never really got past development phase.
I think Tim Burton was directing that one.
Tim Burton was directing that. You were correct.
Yeah. And so the producer who wanted that went off to do this and put it in this instead. Which I love how fucking stupid you can just lift something that you want in a film and just put it in another film, like. That shouldn't happen. That should
it definitely should not happen. But it is a very clear indication of what this film was to the studio. It was an attempt to just make some money in any way they knew how. And so when this producer walked in the room, and like he strikes me, I reckon. I don't know why, but I imagine him as like an old school 40s Hollywood producer, like always wearing a suit with a big mustache and a cigar hanging out his mouth. And he's like,
gold chain.
Gonna get me a mechanical spider in this thing. And like slamming a whiskey glass down on the table. I said mechanical spider, damn it. Like, I don't know why. That's what I imagine this guy's like. He's probably so nothing like that at all. But the fact that it just...
I'm picturing James Gandolfini.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. I'm picturing the Monopoly guy.
Okay. I want a fatter Monopoly guy, though. Yes,
like a really mad, fatter Monopoly guy, yeah. Like, imagine him, like, real pissed and, like, drunk as fucking, like...
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Like, swinging for the fences. Like, yo, get over here.
Have we got any dames in this? Have we got any cute dames in this movie? No, we don't. And I don't call them dames, by the way.
Well, do you know what? Like, this movie, like, you might as well have put a topless scene in it. You might as well, because...
Give it a shot.
I mean, it seems like they would have done anything to do it, because they got pretty close, because they were showing off butts like nothing else.
That's true.
But they were like, we've got to be careful, though. We've got to keep the teenage audience, like the 13 to whatever.
Yeah, we want some 8 and 9-year-olds.
We still want a PG. We still want a PG-13 here.
That's true.
But I mean, I'm amazed they had the restraint to not show any, naked boobs in this.
So would this go down as the best, or of the? Would this go down as one of the best westerns you've ever seen, Tys?
Oh. It's not a western. Like, and this, I would never even.
But there's guns.
Half qualify as a western.
But there's guns and a mechanical spider. Come on, it's a western, and everyone's got hats. Come on.
There's a moment where he walks into a party just dressed what I assume is normal, and Bai Ling says to him, "Oh, what a terribly clever costume, a cowboy." And I was like, was she being sarcastic, or are we meant to believe that
that's what cowboys dress like?
This is a costume? What's going on here? Anyway, so I don't buy that it's a western at all. I think no, because there are certain things that are true to nearly every western.
Okay.
And they are completely absent from this film.
Do you know what I love about this film? Sorry, keep going.
No, that's it. I'm not going to go into detail. That's my statement. That's
Do you know what I love about this film? You know how when they wrote down like the stupid laws of movies where every person of Asian descent knows kung fu and guns don't need to be reloaded and all this bullshit. Do you remember those rules?
I'm aware of their existence. I wasn't privy to the arrangements of the actual writing of them, but yes.
Oh, really? No. They're just around. Because that happens quite a lot in this movie. No one reloads anything.
No, I don't see anyone reload anything.
Will Smith's horse just fucking randomly rocks up whenever he needs it.
Good. It's a good horse. It's a good horse.
It's a good horse.
People fall from dramatic heights with very little consequence, yeah.
That's true. And no one gets it. And a couple of people get shot and there's barely any blood. There's no blood in this thing.
No, I don't recall. I see when Ted Levine dies, there's a little bit of blood.
And even when, do you remember, and how funny is it that they're after this mechanical tank thing they don't end up finding? It's just like, it's gone.
This is where I would have lost $1 million, because if you had said there's one plot element that you're missing that's really important, I would have been scratching my head like nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, what you're talking about.
I don't even want to think about
the tank that kills everyone.
The tank that just is a tank that can also spin. Like
that's it.
Oh my God. And how is that any better than like a dude in armor spinning around with a machine gun? Like it's just awful.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I think I'm going to watch this again.
No, I'm never going to watch this ever again in my life.
I'm going to make sure that every time you come around my house, it's actually just random.
No, stop it. I don't ever want to see it ever again. Hey, and we didn't answer the question. Why did the robot henchman man?
Oh,
what happened to him?
Die?
He just stopped. He just stopped all of a sudden, and I couldn't figure out why.
I thought it was like I don't know, something to do with the hydraulics. I got nothing. I'm just saying words.
Well, because all Will Smith did is it was like he was like a gargoyle, and he couldn't go in sunlight because Will Smith like swung out of the edge of the thing, and sunlight hit him, and then he kind of lit up, and I was like, what? Because unless I missed a little bit where Will Smith like pulled a bunch of levers and was just trying to buy time until he shut down or something.
Yeah. I didn't see
listeners,
anything.
Wild Wild West fans,
please, if you are out there, tell us what the fuck happened with that robot guy.
No
one is out there. Everyone is swearing at us, and just
all I actually care about is what happened to the robot guy. That's what happened to the robot guy. I don't care about anything else. If you secretly tell me this is some kind of like satirical piece of genius, I don't care. Just tell me what happened to the robot guy.
We don't want to hear about your thesis on Wild Wild West. We don't like it.
I've got one more question. I
have questions.
What was the benefit of Salma Hayek pretending that it was her dad instead of her husband?
That was my last note. He wasn't my father. He was my husband. Okay.
Was it? So does that mean that she was playing them?
Both of them.
So that because she knew that they would think she's hot, so they wouldn't help her otherwise? Because I don't know if I don't know if I want the heroes of my movies to only help a female because they want to fuck her. I would like it to be because they're actually genuinely heroic people.
Absolutely.
So what is this movie trying to tell us?
This movie is trying to say that don't help anyone unless they're in a corset. And
if you are a female looking for assistance, pretend you are not married, otherwise you will not receive any. I think that's the bottom line here.
Everyone likes single women.
Single women only.
Single women only, and we only like villains without any legs. If we can make fun of them.
If we can make fun of somebody for not having half their body, it is preferable.
Okay. If we can't do that, can we throw midgets at a bullseye? That's what this movie is aimed at. Those people.
Oh, my God. Having said that, can we also threaten our main female character with robotic rape? Like, can we also have that happen at some point? I think...
I'm done. I can't do it anymore. No. One more. Give me one more.
It is totally okay to use racist puns.
Yes, and also...
In a dinner party situation.
Yes, and lynching jokes are plenty, please. Just a plenty.
Yeah,
just make a big scene about it.
Do you know what? African-American people are totally over that lynching thing. You can totally make gags about it. They're so
we've
cool
been told
with
they're
it now.
fine.
It's in the past, guys.
Exactly. I have a friend of a friend of a friend who's black, and he's fine with it.
He said he was cool with it, so I think we're okay. Water off the duck's back.
Fucking terrible. Jesus Christ.
I am ripping my notes out of my notebook because I don't want to have it in there. Are you ready? I want to put this on audio. I'm going to rip it.
Here we go. Here he goes. Oh, he's had enough.
Wild Wild West, you can get fucked.
Oh, that was good. I like that. That was cathartic.
That was therapeutic.
That was very cathartic.
That was really...
Are you okay?
It's like it never happened, Nick. It's like I never saw this movie. It's like it's gone from the notebook forever.
Can I get, because we haven't posted this yet, can I get your permission to the post for this movie? I would like you to write it.
I will happily write.
I want it to be really
I will
bad.
be very pleasant. I will be pleasant, and I will try and bring in the listeners. I will say, hey, Wild Wild West fans, are you in for a treat? We've got a lot of fun happening this week on Nick Tys and Videotape.
Because when people read, this is the problem with our society. People, because of texting and posts and all that stuff, no one can put the context into which they're saying.
No, it's a good point. It's a good point.
And
I can always just claim I was being sarcastic on anything I write. Sure.
That's hilarious.
Nicholas,
let's end it there.
I think we should end it there. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I would never recommend this movie to anybody. It is as bad, if not worse than expected. It is not even... I actually didn't even have a so bad it's good reaction to it. I think there are far better choices for movies like that.
Absolutely.
Fuck this movie. Fuck this movie. Real bad.
This movie gets a minus, if anything. This movie gets a -5.
I gave it a 2 on IMDb because technically it's out of 5, and so that's 1 star. Because you know what? Because the score was okay. And I think I feel bad about the people in the costume department because they made those dresses look pretty nice that Will Smith and Kevin Kline had to wear.
I like it.
I can't,
2 points. I like it, Tys. That was good.
Shall we move on?
I would like to, yes. I would like to, yeah. Let's talk about what did we watch this week.
Okay, let's do that.
Hopefully we watched something decent.
What did we watch this week? There it is. Do you want to go first, Nick? Because I got to check.
Yeah, sure.
List.
I watched a film that was on our list of things to watch. Tyson watched it, and now I have. I'm talking about 2017's The Florida Project.
Oh, wonderful.
I watched that.
Did you love it sick?
I built it up too much in my fucking head. Yeah. It was a great movie. It really was. It just, I think, it was hard. I think this is, as you get older, which I've just found out, and you end up having children, which I have, your depiction of parenthood changes because you are a parent. So me watching this, I was just all the way through it going, someone just take her kid away. For fuck's sake, this girl needs to have a... And,
but that's the tragedy of it, though.
I know, and I can see it from a filmmaking point of view, from a viewing point of view. I was like, this is just a beautiful, tragic... it was such a picturesque vision of just a sad situation that couldn't be helped, And William Dafoe was just beautiful. He was great. These kids acting, especially the girl who played Mooney, the main character. He was so
it's some of the best kid acting I've ever seen in my life.
The actress's name is Brooklyn Prince, which is just beautiful.
Yeah, she's something else.
She was spot on. She was so good.
Yeah.
And it was just it was a beautiful film, and you don't get that. I haven't had that in a while, which is I guess kind of why I watched Wild West. You don't get the whole. You rarely get a whole picture. You rarely get script, casting, acting, directing, the whole 9 yards. You rarely get the entire pie.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie had, and it was really good.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like it was definitely the whole product. It was the complete package. It was it was one of the most moving experiences for me last year in a cinema. And yeah, like I said, I think it was very close to the top of my favorites list of last year. And I'm it's one of those ones that I'm almost scared to watch again because I don't want to ruin the experience of seeing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I loved it so much. I hope it wasn't my fault that I put too much emphasis on it for
myself.
you.
Yeah. I do it to myself.
Well, fair enough. Yeah. But it's still very high recommend, though, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of fantastic stuff happening in that film, and I think it needs to be seen regardless. I think it says a lot about youth, and it says a lot about that wondrous time where everything is an adventure. Everything is new. Everything's fresh. Every
summer
goes forever, and whoever it is, your mum, your dad, your auntie, your uncle, whoever happens to be that person in your life, your guardian, your godparent, they are flawless. And so
they can do no wrong.
And so I think this movie does a really wonderful job kind of presenting the point of view of Mooney. And it really broke my heart.
Especially just picturing picking out specific scenes. One of my favorite pieces of movie making in that movie was when William Dafoe catches the old man walking up to the kids, and I was like, Jesus
terrifying.
Christ. And that scene, and then a flip on that, when we were watching it, I was watching it with my wife, obviously, and she said, this is the third bath scene. Why are we at the end?
Sorry, say that again?
But you see Mooney in the bath 3 times at the end.
Oh, okay.
And they're all different times. And I said, no, but there's a reason. Why do you think she's in the bath? Why do you think?
Yeah.
And from there, it was just beautiful piece of filmmaking and just very well done.
There's so much clever stuff in it. Yeah.
You don't need to see that. Yeah, and it's great. Yeah. See it, man. Florida Project. 2017, if you haven't seen it, guys. It's great.
All right, well, I'm going to talk about this is something I watched a little while ago, but I don't think I had the chance to talk about. So I want to talk about it today, and that is the documentary Spielberg, which was floating around last year. I believe it's a HBO produced, or maybe Showtime produced documentary, which chronicles the career of Steven Spielberg. Which, of course, is
it's like a movie itself.
It's an incredible undertaking to try and cover every film in Spielberg's filmography. Spielberg is one of those guys that I think, while I would say he's one of my favorite directors, I actually have pretty massive holes in my Spielberg viewing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so I had a lot of catching up to do, and I would say the best thing about this film is that it made me want to watch the ones that I've just kind of overlooked in my time. Like I would love to watch Empire of the Sun at some stage. Like,
absolutely.
Like I think I really need to watch that. I would love to watch The Color Purple, like stuff like that. That is just Munich.
Been on my list, yeah.
They've all been on my list, and they've just kind of slipped through the cracks. Unfortunately, though, past that. And a pretty, certain films get a very good treatment. Like, something like E.T., Jaws, the Indiana Jones movies, Jurassic Park, they get really fair, thorough treatment, and it's really great. But aside from if you are someone that is obviously a big fan or even just a fan of filmmaking, there's not really much past that.
Oh, really?
I really like a documentary that makes you think it's going to be about something and then turns out to be about something else.
Yeah.
This is really just a career retrospective documentary. And so it's very interesting to filmmakers and film fans and Spielberg fans, but it doesn't really provide much of an insight into Spielberg himself. It doesn't really provide huge amounts of insight about why... the kinds of films he ended up making. Like, there's passing references to things like that, and they do try to kind of cover some of that. I think some of the discussion that it has about Schindler's List is kind of interesting, and Saving Private Ryan, the more kind of serious part of his career. But I would really love to just see a film that really kind of got to the bottom of this kind of stuff and really made him a subject, as opposed to it being almost like a glorified... inside the actor's studio episode about Steven Spielberg, the director. You know what I mean? Having said that, it's 2.5 hours.
Whoa.
It breezes by, it just cruises by, and there's not really, by the time if there's a movie there that you're not that interested in them talking about, you wait 10 minutes and it's onto another one. And if nothing else, it gives you this amazing perspective on just how much Spielberg has contributed to popular culture.
In general.
Yeah.
What's the last film that it ends on?
It ends on... I can't... They definitely talk about Lincoln.
Oh, okay.
I think they talk about Bridge of Spies a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I can't remember.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. And there's no one-on-one with the man at all?
Yeah, definitely. We do find out a little bit about him. I'm not saying that. I just, for a man that deep dive, though. For a man that's made so many of these, I think, and what the problem is I think that it might have been better served to pick an era, like a Spielberg era, and really bring your focus in. Like, what was it about the Spielberg that made E.T., Close Encounters, and Jaws?
Yeah. That's a nice era.
In that close proximity, what was it about that guy? Like, why, and I'm sure there's something I'm missing there, even like Jewel, but, what was his fascination? He basically had the defining idea of suburban America for about half a decade.
Like a decade, yeah.
How did he do it? Like, why did he do it? How did that make, what brought him to represent that so strongly? And we get little bits of that, but that's the stuff that I'm really keen on. I don't really need to see here's 15 minutes on fucking... I'm trying to think. The BFG. I don't know.
Amistad.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Here's 15 minutes on Amistad. Which is kind of, don't get me wrong, Amistad is fine.
Amazing.
I'm not interested. I don't need it. So it's a mixed bag, and I think there's definitely something in it for you. I feel like there are worse ways to spend time, absolutely. And if you're a fan, go check it out. But I'd love at some point to get something that kind of gets into a bit of the nitty gritty about Spielberg and kind of talks about why he was so prolific and what it was about him and his choices. And so hopefully we'll get that at some point.
How old is Steven Spielberg?
I would say he's probably in his mid-60s, Nick, but I am not 100% certain about that.
Let's just make sure he's very healthy. Let's just make sure he's going to be around for a while. That's all. He's got 7 projects in the fucking world, so he's fine.
Actually, he's 72.
He's 72?
Because he was born in 46.
Okay, let's just make sure he's okay. And someone check on David Attenborough as well.
On who?
What is your David Attenborough? I've been watching a lot of David Attenborough as well.
He's got to narrate his own funeral, surely.
He is. What is your I'm not going to say your favourite Spielberg film. I'm going to say, what is the one that you, out of watching that documentary, what is the one that you really want to watch now? That you either haven't seen or have seen?
That I haven't seen or that I have seen?
Both.
The one that I hadn't seen that I most wanted to see after it was
Sugarland Express?
No, probably Munich, I think.
Munich?
Yeah.
It's the one that slipped through the cracks for me that everyone's talked about, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, I need to see that.
And the one I wanted to immediately rewatch after watching it was... because it's been a very long time. Probably Close Encounters, actually. When they were talking about Close Encounters, I was like, oh my God, I need to watch that movie again. It's been so long.
You can't not love Spielberg, seriously.
I would argue some people don't, but they are wrong.
I would argue that they're wrong. Yeah. Exactly.
Hey, Nick, should we corrupt the Let's do that. So I'm just going to jump straight in because a movie has been added to Netflix that has had a lot of discussion floating around on our show, and I want to make sure that if you didn't get the opportunity to watch it in the cinema last year, you watch it now. And that is Dunkirk, which has arrived on Netflix.
Yes.
This is last year. It was probably, I was umming and ahhing about whether or not it would end up my favourite film of last year. I think something pipped it in the post in the end. But dear God, is it fucking great, and do I love it so much. And you can watch it now on Netflix. And I can't stress this enough. Don't watch this on a laptop. Put it on a big television, turn the lights off, turn the sound up, and experience it is a physically emotive movie. Like, you need to feel what's happening in this film, and because it is so designed to cause a physical reaction. It is not just it's not just a sitting there watching a film unfold on a screen. It is designed to make you experience it, and and I think it is so effective at that. And so you can watch it for free if you have a Netflix membership now. So get on it.
Dunkirk, man.
We've talked about it endless on this show. So if you're fans of the show, you've heard me talk about it. There is an episode probably from about, I would say, almost about a year ago now, where we do a pretty extensive breakdown on it because I'd just seen it at the cinema.
That's right,
and I think that might be in the episode title, but you can search it if you'd like to hear me talk more about it. But I would recommend getting on that. If you have missed it by any chance, watch it now. It's on Netflix. Dunkirk.
Nice one, Tys.
What do you got, Nick?
I'm going to stick to theme, and I'm going to pick a Will Smith movie that is actually balls to the wall fucking awesome.
All right.
And that is 1995's Bad Boys.
Bad Boys. What you gonna do?
What you gonna do? I fucking love this movie. 1995. The first thing, the one that kind of put Will Smith on the map. You would kind of think if you weren't a Fresh Prince.
Yeah, I guess so. Because it was. Hang on, Independence Day was 94.
That was after.
96. It was 96. You're right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I guess it must have been Bad Boys.
Yeah, man, Bad Boys. Get this to watch. It's so 90s and trashy, but it's better than anything. Like it's so good. It always reminds me of like a really hot summer as well because everything's
that's
so
the Michael Bay, man. That's the Michael Bay.
Michael Bay all over it. So yeah, Michael Bay directs. It's got if you haven't seen it before, just watch it because it's so funny and so trashy. But it's so good as well. The action in it is awesome. I love this movie, and it has one of those classic Michael Bay soundtracks. Not Speed-esque. It's not Speed-esque, but it's up there.
Yeah, look, Bad Boys is actually one of the ones that you can talk about when people talk about legitimately decent Michael Bay films.
Yeah.
The first Bad Boys.
The first Bad Boys.
The second Bad Boys is just... I don't know what is going on in that movie. It is outrageous.
No, they tried to catch lightning in a bottle again, and it didn't happen.
Do you know what it was? Instead, they caught lightning in a bottle for Bad Boys, and then they tried to catch lightning in a swimming pool, and turned out that you can't because they try everything in Bad Boys 2, like everything.
I am am looking forward to Bad Boys 3, though. Bring that up.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening, man. I think it's back on I think it's back off.
Oh, really?
It's on and then it's off. I just don't want it to be Joe Carnahan because I'm kind of over that guy. After kind of hearing him in interviews and stuff and realizing that I don't think he's a very nice guy. And he might have actually accidentally made a really great film in The Grey, and I'm happy to just leave it there.
Fair deal.
Yeah.
But, Bad Boys, it's on Netflix. I give it a watch. It's awesome. You'll like it.
It's a great example of mid-90s action. That's really kind of particular era where it was that sweaty aesthetic. Action.
The camera was very fluent. It kind of revolved, circled around things and everything.
It made guns really kind of like sexy and cool, and everyone was like slow-mo shooting bullets at each other and stuff. And it was
awesome.
It was right in the midst of when John Woo kind of found his feet. Is when. Yeah, it was a very particular, not found his feet, but found his feet in the US.
In the US,
It was a very particular time, and I think, you'll find I do enjoy a lot of action movies from that era.
Yeah. Especially the club scene in Bad Boys.
Sure.
A club like that is hilarious. If there is a club that exists like Club Hell, I'd love to go. Invite me, I want to come.
We'll have a road trip. Yeah, it sounds good.
All right.
I think that's going to wrap us up, Nicholas.
That's it.
Why don't you tell people again where they can find us, buddy?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to follow us on social media, we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We do chuck up things on Instagram. We are also on YouTube. You can stream our podcast on YouTube.
You can.
Stream?
Well, you can just watch it. If perhaps podcast apps aren't your thing and you do listen to podcasts while you're on a PC...
Yeah.
Just jump onto YouTube and you can hear our whole entirety of our backlog of episodes on YouTube.
Absolutely. And all of them will be better than this one.
This was fun.
And that's about it. If you would like to write us, if you would like to communicate with us, you can do it through the social media. We don't mind. We'll still talk to you. But if you have a letter in mind, if you would like to send us an email, we are at nick@videotape@gmail.com.
I spell Nick. Yeah. Oh, sorry, no, you said that's more important.
I spell Nick without a K, and Tys is Tys.
That is correct.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
Well, I was just about to say, I would, if anyone decided they wanted to send a telegram, I would be pretty excited about that. If we happen to get a Nick Tyson videotape, stop. Please review. Fuck, I don't know. No, I should have thought of a movie before this. Oh, fuck.
Please review Avengers: The Infinity War again. On your second watching.
Please review Lady Chatterley's Lover. Stop.
Stop.
Join me for high tea forthcoming.
Stop. Many warm wishes to everyone. Hope you are well. Stop. Yours sincerely, Barry Sonnenfeld.
Barry Sonnenfeld. Yes, please. Oh man, that's great. Hey, next week I got no idea. Let's
you got no idea?
No, let's leave it up. Let's leave it to fate.
Okay, but I think we should go in because of this monstrosity. We are going to watch something I think a bit off the chain.
We need to watch something good.
Yeah,
we need to watch a good film.
We need to
have a good conversation that is like, I want to talk about themes and I want to talk about character development and I want to talk about symbolism and allegories.
And directing and, yes, bring it on.
Please. Can we talk about something with some meat in it? But that'll be next week. If anyone's got any suggestions, jump on the faces and let us know very soon.
Absolutely.
And we might be able to squeeze in a quick request. Otherwise, I think that'll do us, Nick.
Nice, that was fun.
It was fun, man. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
But.